When a man who lived a solitary life was asked why he walked alone, he looked toward the horizon and said, "Trust is like a vintage watch. It's a masterpiece of precision, but once the gears are forced and the mainspring snaps, it never quite keeps the same time again. If you give your heart to one person, then another and another, only to have them handle it with heavy hands, there comes a day when you decide to keep that heart safely behind a locked door." Another man once observed that a true companion is a rare treasure in a world of cheap imitations. Most people don't seek a friend, they seek a ladder. Haruki Murakami, the writer, captured this sentiment perfectly through his characters. "I don't like being alone. I just don't make any extra acquaintances. I don't want to be disappointed in people." There is a deep, quiet wisdom in a man who chooses his own company over the noise of a crowd that doesn't care if he's there. There is a powerful and somber story about a master craftsman and his apprentice that reveals the weight of this choice. It's a story for those who stand alone and those who think they have a circle of many. Listen closely and ask yourself where you stand in this tale. An old master craftsman took in a young apprentice who had nothing. The master didn't just teach him the trade, he gave him his life. He shared his finest tools, his secret techniques, and the very workbench where he had spent 40 years honing his skill. In those early days, the apprentice was full of gratitude. He would sit by the fireplace, listening to the master's stories, feeling like the luckiest man in the world to have found such a mentor and a friend. The master looked at the young man with a sincere heart, believing he had finally found someone to carry his legacy. But as the years passed, the apprentice grew restless. He wanted the fame and the fortune he saw in the city. He visited the master less often, only returning when he needed something. One evening, he arrived at the workshop looking frustrated. "What's wrong, my friend?" the master asked, setting down his chisel. "Why do you no longer find joy in the craft?" The apprentice sighed. "A man of my ambition needs a shop of his own in the city square, and I have no gold. What good is your wisdom if it can't pay the rent?" The master looked at his old, worn hands. "I have no gold to give you, but I have my finest finished works. Take these hand-carved cabinets and sell them. The money will be yours." The apprentice loaded the masterpieces onto a cart, sold them for a fortune, and disappeared into the city lights without a word of thanks. The master waited. He watched the road every sunset, hoping for a visit, but the shop remained silent. Seasons turned, and eventually the apprentice, now a man of high standing, returned. He didn't come to say hello. He came to complain. "I have a grand shop now," he grumbled, "but the wealthy clients demand the rarest mahogany, and I have none. How can I be successful without the best materials?" The master looked at his own workshop floor. "Take my workbench," he said softly. "It is made of the finest aged timber in the country. Break it down and use the wood for your clients. Perhaps then you will find peace." The man took a saw to the very table where he had learned his craft. He hauled the wood away, built his luxury furniture, and became the most famous name in the city. He forgot the master entirely until he was an old man himself. One day, he shuffled back to the empty, cold workshop. He didn't look at the master with love. He looked at him with bitterness. "I am tired of the city," he said. "I want to retire in luxury, but I have no mansion by the sea. I need a final masterpiece to sell to the king himself." The master, now frail and sitting on a simple stone floor, gestured to the very rafters of the building. "The beams of this roof are the strongest oak. Pull them down. Sell the timber to the king's architects. I no longer need a roof over my head." The man didn't hesitate. He tore the roof from the building, leaving the master exposed to the wind and the rain, and walked away with his final prize. Years passed. The workshop was nothing more than a ruin of stone and weeds. The rain fell, the snow piled up, and the sun beat down on the empty floor where the master used to work. For a long time, there was nothing but silence. But nature is resilient. From the cracks in the stone floor, a small, vibrant wildflower began to grow, nourished by the memory of the kindness that had once lived there. It was beautiful and strong, standing tall against the elements. One afternoon, a young traveler passed by the ruins and saw the flower. He knelt down and reached out a hand. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "I'll take you with me and we'll be friends." The flower didn't lean toward his touch. It didn't bloom any brighter. Having been stripped of everything once before, it no longer sought the company of those who might pick it just to watch it wither. The legendary George Carlin once said, "Inside every cynical person person is a disappointed idealist. Perhaps that flower had simply seen too much. In the world of modern connections, it's often said that the hardest thing is letting go of those who hurt us. But perhaps the truly hardest thing is learning to trust again after you've given your entire roof to someone who only wanted the wood. If you meet someone who walks alone, don't assume they are cold or unkind. It might just be that they were the master craftsman once too often. Having no friends isn't always a sign of a flawed character. Sometimes it's just a sign that a person has run out of reasons to believe that others won't eventually reach for the saw. And in a world that takes so much, there is a quiet dignity in choosing to keep what little you have left to yourself.